the biggest disappointment I had with my predictions for 2010 is that the unicorn phenomenon, if you will, that is the government in the United States' ability to continue to play the game of we'll pretend we have some money and you'll pretend that you're happy that we have money, has gone on for a lot longer than I thought it would. So, that has floated asset prices higher, and it has also now, it appears, led to what looks like a deal that's going to make the deficit even worse for 2011. And that's going to bear on my 2011 predictions, which are due out soon.
Okay, so you're talking about the unicorn theory, as you put it, that the Federal Reserve, as we know, they came out with quantitative easing 1 and quantitative easing 2, and presumably this would have been sussed out by the market, and there would have been more of a penalty assigned for this profligate money printing. But so far, I guess what you're saying is there hasn't been the huge consequences for all this money printing, but you see that changing going forward.
Yeah, the real issue, Max, is that at some point the market is going to discern that we're just simply never going to pay back what we're borrowing. And we're running about $1.7 trillion worth of deficits in real terms. Everybody says it's 1.3, 1.2, and what they're doing is stealing the FICA tax revenues in order to make their numbers balance. You have to look at the actual borrowing that's outstanding. That's where the truth lies. And we are actually making it worse with this proposal that's now on Capitol Hill. So, the bond market has reacted rather violently to that in the last couple of weeks, and we'll see how long this game continues to be played. But I think it comes to a head sometime in 2011. Of course, I thought that it would have happened by now.
All right, let me ask you something. There's all kinds of ways to slice and dice these numbers and to look at the debt and national debt and subsets of various tranches of debt. One standout number seems to simply look at that debt ceiling, which is, I think, something like $14 trillion, and they're talking about raising the debt ceiling. If there was just one number to look at, couldn't you just point to the debt ceiling and say if it's $14 trillion and the GDP is 12 or 12.5 trillion and it's rising, that's bad, right?
Well, what I look at is the total systemic indebtedness compared to GDP. That's what I call my Ponzi finance indicator. And the spread on that over the last 30 years has been approximately 3%. And the problem with that, of course, is that exponents are a problem over long periods of time, but they look good at the moment. So you have about 3% of alleged growth that we have had over a 30-year period of time that is in fact false. And so every time that you see a growth number of 2% in GDP growth, it's really -1. And now what we've done, since the private market has been unable to continue to expand credit, is we've shifted that to the federal government. And eventually this game ends. It's just a question of how long it goes on. And what happens, Max, is the same thing that happened to Greece and Ireland. Everything seems to be okay one day. You wake up the next morning and the bond spreads are blowing out and auctions are failing. And that has been the history on this crisis, and it's going to continue.
Okay, so when you say growth is -1, you're referring to how the GDP doesn't, and the inflation or inflation deflator, as it's called, it's actually kind of a misrepresentation of the actual numbers because they don't include the real components in terms of trying to get a statistical snapshot of what's going on, correct?
Well, yeah. The problem, Max, is that if I go out and I borrow $20,000 on my credit card, that shows up as GDP when I make those purchases. But I actually have not grown the economy by doing that. All I've done is pulled forward tomorrow's buying into today. And, of course, then when tomorrow comes, I'm compelled to do it again, but at an even larger amount. And that's the adjustment that is not made to the GDP numbers. If you were to do that and back that out, the spread between GDP and credit growth, you would see that the numbers look much more anemic. And, of course, what everybody looks at when they're looking at multiples in the stock market or whether they're looking at the price of houses, looking at any kind of asset price, is what is the growth expectation into the future? Because what you're buying when you're buying stock is future earnings. You're not buying today's earnings, you're buying tomorrow's.